Welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly, and today I have yet another project that is inspired by the Vinyl Cottage. I cannot help myself. These vinyls are way too cute. I'm going to be making a whole bunch of things with this vinyl package that I received, so I hope you don't get sick of the content. I'll try to mix it up for you. I am starting with a 20-ounce prepped straight skinny tumbler from the Stainless Depot company. I have sanded it and wiped it down with rubbing alcohol and sprayed it with a flat white spray paint, 2 times Rust-Oleum flat white. And now I am using a fast setting epoxy. I'm using the hang method to apply a chunky glitter from Maestra Creations as well as a finer glitter to create a white base. Now, when I originally thought about using the vinyl that I'm going to show you from the Vinyl Cottage, I was going to put it over just a white base. I was going to leave this tumbler as is, spray painted white without any glitter. And I just kept thinking about it and thought, no, I really want some sparkle underneath that vinyl. But what I did is I already cut the vinyl to wrap around this skinny straight tumbler because the vinyl was for like a standard 20-ounce straight. So I had to trim off the ends of the vinyl piece that I'm going to show you here in a minute, so which created a bit of a problem after I put on my glitter, because you have the layer of glitter and then you have the layer of epoxy, and so my tumbler is actually wider than I originally anticipated. So I'll show you how I fixed that little situation. I started with a chunky glitter from Maestra Creations. It's called Superstar, and then I applied a finer glitter over the top of the chunky to kind of fill in those little gaps where the chunky didn't hit, and that fine glitter is called Daisy. These two glitters together create the most beautiful sparkle that I did not even expect it would be so shiny under epoxy. So I was pleasantly surprised, and I definitely made the right choice by putting a glitter base underneath this transparent vinyl from the Vinyl Cottage that I'll show you here in a minute. Once I had both these glitters applied, I let that tumbler sit for about 10 minutes. It's a fast setting epoxy, so I didn't have to wait too long. And then I rolled it in a piece of paper to flatten out the chunky glitter, and then used my gloved finger to kind of swoop around the bottom and the top edge to make sure there weren't any chunky pieces hanging up over both of those edges. And then I sealed it with one layer of clear gloss spray paint and then 1 coat of epoxy. And I thought that coat of epoxy, it was a fast setting epoxy still. I thought the coat of epoxy would be all I needed, but I actually needed to sand it down because there were some chunky bits sticking out. And then I applied a second coat of epoxy. So there is actually a coat of epoxy underneath the glitter that I used the hang method, and then on top of the glitter I applied 2 more coats of epoxy and let that sit. So that creates a fairly thick tumbler. And because I pre-trimmed my vinyl thinking I wasn't going to add glitter, now my vinyl does not wrap all the way around the tumbler. So I had to kind of piece it together. So I wanted to keep that center V, like if you're going to do a V-split, I wanted to keep that center V that had the 2 large hearts in it. So that's your main focal point. So I started by cutting off the edges and leaving the pinstripes with the red and the pink and the black. And then when I put it over my tumbler, I didn't really like the way that looked. I didn't like the way the lines lined up on the back. I thought it was I didn't like the way it sort of dropped off in the back and left those really bold lines. So I took those off also, but I wanted to leave the flowers that were peeking out over those lines. So I very carefully trimmed around those. And then I'm going to apply this to the front of my tumbler, and then around the back and the edges and the bottom, I'm going to cut out very carefully some of those flowers and those hearts from the other pieces that have already been trimmed off. Once that vinyl focal point V-split is ready to apply to the tumbler, I just made a center line by bending my V in half and kind of pinching the top. And I'm going to use that center line to place directly underneath one of those mouthpieces, because there's like two mouthpieces on top of that lid. One has one for just a straw and the other one's a little bit bigger, so you could like tip and drink it. So I'm just using one of those to line up, and then I'm going to remove the paper backing from the vinyl by what I my dog wants my attention right now. So I remove the paper backing, cut the paper backing off, and then reposition that backing so that you have a little sliver of vinyl peeking through that you can use to kind of stick your vinyl down, and then use your eyes to figure out if everything's lined up. And once you like the way it looks, then you can start unfolding that vinyl off the back, unfolding the paper off the back of the vinyl, and start pressing it down from the inside, working from the inside out. I had a couple areas that wanted to fold on top of itself, so I went through and I used my craft knife to put a slit through those little folds and then press them outward until they flattened out. So once you put epoxy over it, you never even know that those little folds were there. Then I just started cutting out those little flowers in hearts and placing them around the blank areas of the tumbler until I liked the placement of everything. And I don't like, when I'm placing little pieces around my tumbler, I don't like it to be perfectly symmetrical. I like there to be some spaces that are more tightly filled than others. I just think that makes it look a little more interesting. So I wasn't too careful about where I put them, because symmetry didn't really matter that much. I just kind of wanted them sporadically placed. After those little pieces were placed, I sprayed it one time with, I think I did triple thick Krylon gloss, clear gloss. And then I put it on my tumbler turner and I did one coat of epoxy. This time I did not use a fast setting epoxy. I used Jessica Flynn's epoxy for this one. And because it mixes up nice and clear if you heat it before you mix it. Tips from her. She said to heat it before you mix it. So look how clear that epoxy is right there. So I did it one coat of epoxy, and then I decided to use the leftover epoxy to put some chunky glitter pieces in with it. And so the glitter color that I mixed in with it over the top, and sort of, I kind of used a marble technique to apply that glitter. It is from Glitter Heart Co. and it is called, boop-a-doop, where is my, there it is. It is called Rosewater, and it's a really beautiful chunky glitter that I just sort of marbled right over the top. I didn't use a generous amount of glitter. It's just a very sporadic placement. I barely have any glitter mixed in my cup of epoxy. So I just wanted it to kind of feather out. And then I took my little metal stick and sort of brushed the glumpy pieces away so that my cup would cure more level. That way I would only have to do the bare minimum of sanding, if any sanding at all. I went over it with a torch a couple passes just to pop any bubbles that might be sitting there that I couldn't see. And then I let this cure for a good, probably about 18 hours. I left it overnight and when I was at work, and then took it off the turner and it is ready to show you. So very pretty. I'm super pleased with this one. Maestra Creations combo glitters that I used on this was the perfect additive underneath that clear Vinyl Cottage vinyl, and it just turned out too cute. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments below. Thank you so much for watching.